Who is the most overrated NFL team heading into the 2020 season? That is a question that I asked myself last week after I did my most underrated video, because for every underrated team, there is an overrated team. And, there's always one answer that comes right to my mind when I heard the word overrated NFL team every single time. But before I get into the video, I just want to remind you to, if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell to get all the notifications for when I upload, and hit that like button because it's going to help this channel grow and stuff. So yeah, but also if you want this hoodie, check out, I'll leave a link below, because I wear this hoodie like it is a t-shirt. This is the most comfortable hoodie I freaking own. I love it. It's a good looking hoodie, nice looking blue. But if you want this hoodie, you can hit the link below. You can buy it yourself. But yeah. So the most overrated NFL team in my mind is the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, that may not be a popular opinion at all. But I don't know how a person can say that team really got better this offseason. I mean, they made a splash with the Jamal Adams trade, but they gave up a lot to get him. And while the Seahawks tried to bring in some weapons for Russell Wilson by signing Greg Olsen, by signing Philip Dorsett, they ignored their two blatant issues in free agency. They did ignore it in the draft, but they did ignore it in free agency. There was a chance to bring in other guys. There was guys on the market that could have helped that team massively. I know they don't have a whole lot of money. I don't know what their cap space looks like, but I'm assuming with the guys they brought in, the young guys they have, there's not going to be a whole lot of money to go around, so maybe bringing in a big free agent was not going to help. But signing the guys you did, in my opinion, did not make your team any better. And one of their blatant reasons why I feel like they are overrated is the offensive line was just completely ignored. They were virtually overhauled, and this is the worst season to virtually overhaul it. I mean, let's be honest. The Seahawks did not know coming into the year 2020 that there was going to be a global pandemic and that communication was going to be a thing that is... They knew that communications was key, but little did they know that there was going to be no spring football for their teams and all these things to help build up chemistry when you overhaul an entire position group. Now, the offensive linemen they brought in, though, weren't really all that talented. Their two biggest additions this offseason were center B.J. Finney and Cedric Ogba. Butchered his name because I looked it up how to say it and literally just forgot. But he was a former first-round talent for the Cincinnati Bengals. Didn't make it there. Went and played for Jacksonville last year. And they didn't bring him back. And Jacksonville's an absolute dumpster fire. So, yeah, that's kind of the position they're on in the offensive line. B.J. Finney wasn't like a starter in the league. He was a plug-and-play guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And while he was good at it, he has never really controlled an offensive line. He has never really been the key focal point of an offensive line. And as a center, that is your job, to be the key focal point of your offensive line. And age is going to be a problem for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line as well. Starting tackle, left tackle, Dwayne Brown is 35. And last season he battled with upper and lower body injuries the entire year. And it was tough for him, but he played. And there's a chance that he could fall off the quote-unquote cliff at any point, where his talent could just go from, okay, he's this good, to where he's now slowing down, he's no longer that good, and boom, he just drops off. And that's it for Dwayne Brown. And the same could be said about left guard Mike Iupati. I looked up his name too, but Iupati is what I'm going to say it. He's 33. And since the Seahawks offensive line was revamped this offseason, it's going to lead to problems, like I said. This is a group of guys that have never played together, led by a center that has never been the leader of an offensive line till this season. And all of the cancellations of the spring ball are working against the Seattle Seahawks. The cancellation of preseason, which was vital for a young offensive line, the preseason games, are now not there. And that's going to affect every offensive line, not just Seattle, but it's going to affect every offensive line that had like a bad turnover rate like Seattle. And I just really don't believe in Seattle's offensive line, because even though Russell Wilson wants to play till he's like 47 years old, he can't run around and run for his life for every single play, every single down that he takes a snap, before it catches up to them and the Seahawks. At some point, the more you run around like that, there's a higher chance you're going to get hit. And the higher chance that you get hit, the higher chance that you're going to get injured. You're already playing a sport that people get injured a lot in, and any hit can end your career, but any play where you're just running could end your career. And if Russell Wilson has to run for his life on every single play, it's not going to be good for the Seattle Seahawks. Another reason I don't believe in Seattle is their pass rush. In free agency this offseason, the Seahawks let Jadeveon Clowney leave, and they did not re-sign him. And over the months that he has not been signed, he is still a free agent. So at any point, they can sign him. But it's not been great. Jacob Martin and Barkevious Mingo and a third-round pick is what they gave up to get him. So it's not like they gave up a whole lot. And since, they let him walk away, he's been unsigned. And so at any point, if they need him, he knows the defense, they could bring him back, which is good for them. But, it wasn't just Clowney that left. Other people on that defensive line left. Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods are both gone. And although that's that's a whole defensive line right there that's gone. But it's not like it was a massive problem for them, because the Seahawks defensive line last year was garbage. It was terrible. One of the worst in the league. It ranked the defense itself ranked 22nd in rush defense, and the defense itself ranked bottom 3 in all pass rushing categories, which is terrible, especially when you have a player of the caliber of Jadeveon Clowney. Now, while he did play with a very painful injury pretty much through the entire last season, still no excuses. Luckily for the Seahawks, their defense this year will be carried by their very good linebacking core and their solid secondary. But at some point, if you don't apply pressure to the quarterback, you're going to have problems. They're not in an easy division. The San Francisco 49ers are not a team to mess around with. They have a good defensive line, but they also have a very good offensive line that can block anybody, and that's an offensive line that can just pound you because they are going to run the ball. They're going to wear that defense out, and that's not going to be good for the offense, because that defensive line is going to be fresh for the 49ers then, and then they're just going to keep pounding that offensive line, and Russ is going to have to run for his life. Luckily, he is an elite quarterback, one of the best in the NFL, but at some point, they're going to have problems. And I believe that this year there is going to be a decline. They're really going to need some of their past draft selections over the last couple of years, from 2018, 2019, and including this year, 2020, to really step up, especially on the defensive side, just because of the, I guess you could say that there's been lack of development on their part, but lack of development on other players as well. And I don't believe the Seahawks have drafted very well over the last couple of years. They don't especially draft well high. They haven't drafted a single player in the first round that's made a Pro Bowl since they drafted Russell Okung in 2010. That's terrible. And since then, since 2010, they've only had 6 draft selections, including this year's 2020 selection of Jordan Brooks. And none of those players have really proven to be worthy of a first-round selection. One of those players was Rashad Penny. And he's not even their starting running back right now. He's the backup to Chris Carson. I mean, they're going to split carries probably, yeah, if he's healthy. But, like, Chris Carson is clearly better. I think Chris Carson was, like, undrafted free agent, so, yeah. And I'm not going to say that the jury is still out on last year's selection, LJ Collar, and this year's selection, Jordan Brooks, due to a lack of playing time. 2019 selection, LJ Collar, he really didn't play last year, so he could come out this year and be very good, and Jordan Brooks can come out and be good for them too, but Jordan Brooks just adds depth at a position that they already had a lot of good players in. But like I said, they've always done a better job drafting later, though. They find some real gems like Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Earl Thomas was a steal for them late, Richard Sherman was a steal for them late. So yes, while they are good at doing drafting later, I don't know if you noticed, none of those positions are defensive linemen and offensive linemen. It really hit for them. So, and I believe that their problems of drafting those players and bringing them in and developing them is really going to show this year, because the way their division is set up, they're going to have problems. They're going to struggle. And their 2 major weak spots are the offensive and defensive line, and it's going to be blatantly bad play this year from both sides of the ball at both of those positions. Looking at their division, I could see the Seahawks going anywhere from 7-9 to 10-6 at the most. I couldn't see them getting more than 10 wins. 10 is the cap for me this season for them. I honestly see them probably going 9-7. There's a chance they could still sneak into the playoffs at 9-7, but I don't see them advancing further than maybe the first round, if so. I like Russell Wilson. He's one of my favorite players. I like him on the field, but I don't like him off the field that much because he comes off as cringy and somewhat of annoying to me. But he's a fantastic quarterback, a fantastic talent. They have guys on the offense this year. The problem is, will their offensive line hold up? I don't think it will. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, like I said, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share this with a friend, do what you got to do. Help us out over here at BB Sports to Grow. If you want the hoodie, links below. If you want to check out the social medias, link will be below this video. Thank you for watching. Have a great one, y'all.